Good afternoon. Welcome to the September 22nd meeting of the Marshalltown Rotary Club. It is truly wonderful to see so many of you here today in person as well as on Zoom. Please rise for the prayer and pledge led by Nancy Stevenson via Zoom.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. Please pray with me. Dear Father, we're grateful for this lovely day, for this fall that we can enjoy. We're grateful for the farmers, and please protect them as they harvest their crops. We're grateful for those that have served one another with the storms and all the other things that have affected our country. We pray that we might also strive to be helpful for others and to be a good example to others. We're grateful for the food that was prepared this day, for the opportunity that we have to serve as Rotarians in our community. These things we pray in thy name. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're happy to welcome so many guests. And so the following people, if you would come up to the microphone so you're ready to introduce your guest. Val Ruff, Tom McCoy, Larry McKibben, Rick Anderson, and Bob Moore will be doing it via Zoom. I'm going to kick off the announcements by welcoming Andrina Helgerson again to us. Andrina has submitted her application for membership, and we're glad that she's here.
My guest today is Julie Hitchens. She's the Executive Director for the Community Foundation of Marshall County. And I just want to give a plug that Carson King Foundation just gave $10,000 to the Marshall County Disaster Relief. So thank you for that, Carson.
Good afternoon. My guest is probably no longer a guest. It's my mother, Ruth McCoy. And then my son-in-law, who is a Buckeye, as am I, wanted to see Carson. So Jacob Tripple's in the back too. He lives in Conrad.
My guest is my wife, Mary Kay.
My guest is my lovely wife, Marlene, and I told her I was doing the cooking this today, so she was happy and she wouldn't have to cook at noontime.
So Bob Moore, would you like to introduce your guest?
I certainly would. My guest today is my wife, Linda. We would like to maybe consider adopting Carson. Our kids are out of the house, and we would certainly welcome him into our establishment. But Linda is my guest today.
Thank you. Welcome, Linda. And Lynn Olderding also has a guest.
So Andrew Potter, who's the Chamber Director of Tourism, is my guest today, and you all heard from him a couple of weeks ago when we were the program.
Welcome, Andrew. Thank you. You may remember that a week or two ago, we had as our guest some representatives from District 6000 of Rotary. And the district is comprised of the Rotary clubs in the southern half of Iowa. And they have a disaster recovery fund, and they decided that Marshalltown was a good recipient for some of those funds. And so they gave us $2,500 to use to contribute to our community in whatever way we thought would be helpful. And so today we have the two organizations that the board has selected to receive. Each of them will receive half of that amount. So first of all, I would like to ask Shelley Nodland, who is the director of the Animal Rescue League, to come up. and she could just briefly tell you a few things about the need for some disaster recovery funds at the Animal Rescue League.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for choosing us to receive this. We fundraise all the time for the animals, so it's nothing new for us, wanting money for different things. But it's always keeping our building together, keeping the animals safe and healthy and fed. So this was totally new to us. We have many, many trees down. It didn't do any damage to any buildings, so therefore insurance doesn't cover it. So this is going to help us tremendously, and we're trying other ways to get grant money so that this is not an expense directly to the Rescue League, because those funds are used every day to take care of the animals. And it's been a hard year for us anyway with COVID, not being able to fundraise as much. So thank you very much. We very much appreciate this. Flip it over.
Another relatively new initiative we had this year is to include a time that I call Rotary News and Information. And I'm going to ask Jackie Goodman if she will come up and present that section. The point of this is to encourage all of our members to open the covers of the Rotarian magazine when you get them. I just got one just very recently. And so I've asked Jackie if she would highlight something that she read in the article or in the news, the magazine that she found personally interesting, and with the hope that you'll go home and read the same article and find one that you like.
Now, Mary, I know what really happened here. You said, I bet that girl has never opened up the Rotary magazine, never looked beyond the cover. So the assignment was given to me, and you're right, Mary. But here, in truth, when she asked me to do this, I said, absolutely, because I do know that there are a lot of Rotary clubs out there doing a lot of great things. And that was the purpose of this, is to highlight it. So I actually opened the cover and just found some amazing things. And this is the September edition. And the cover itself says a life-changing adventure, which really features the youth exchange program. But when you dig a little deeper, there are a lot of efforts to tackle high levels of poverty and unemployment in the regions that these Rotary clubs serve. And that was a message throughout this magazine. So for example, one effort in Detroit, Launch Detroit, started in 2012, provides entrepreneurs from disadvantaged communities with access to loans, business classes, and networking opportunities, as well as many mentoring opportunities by the Rotarians there. Namaste Direct, operation in Guatemala, so worldwide operations here, focusing on women micro entrepreneurs. It's all about lifting themselves up and their family and getting their families out of poverty. So Namaste Direct is based out of San Francisco, but it takes a three-prong approach, providing financial literacy training, mentoring, and micro loans. And then the last article that I'm going to feature is something based out of Chicago, and it's called ACE, Advancing Community Economics, again, targeting those in poverty, providing scholarships, mentors, and the scholarship program is offered through Harper College. And it's not just a tuition-based scholarship, but it's everything that they need, providing all kinds of assistance to these students so that they can start college and not have to worry if they're gonna have money or food to put on the table and worrying about rent and things like that. And the last thing that Mary wanted to share is, why is this important? Why is this important to me? Why would I pick this out? I just recently was working on a grant, and so I had some pretty staggering statistics about our own poverty levels here in Marshalltown. And so we have 4,236 people living in poverty. 1,509 of those are children. And so those are things that are, just staggering to me. And I know, compared to Chicago, where the poverty rate is, I don't know if it's 50%, certain areas, but there are a lot of good things happening. And it's such a rewarding thing to see when they take that journey or that adventure out of poverty and take that leap. So I was just really impressed with all the good work that the Rotary clubs across the nation and the world are doing.
Thank you, Jackie. I think I got that idea because I was one of those that really didn't ever open the magazine. And my husband kept reading it and saying, this is really good. So I decided maybe I should look at this magazine. So at any rate, I'm sharing that along with you too. And as a bonus for this week, the most recent Rotary magazine has an article about Okoboji in Iowa. And you get bonus points if you find out what it is. That's all I'm going to tell you. Okay, we are ready for announcements now. I wanted to let you know that at our last meeting, we had 25 people in person and 18 people on Zoom, and I think that's 43, if I'm adding that correctly. And also, I wanted to thank those of you who had your photo taken today. We are trying to get our website updated so that if you go on, there will be a picture of you there. So if people aren't sure, what you look like, then that'll give them a clue. So if you don't mind staying a little afterwards, if we didn't get your picture beforehand, I think Mark is willing to help us out again. So please do that, or you're always welcome to send a headshot if you have one that you like better. Send that to Kim, or she can talk you through how to upload that yourself. John Fink has a report on our warm coat drive.
Thank you, President Giese. Last week, I announced that our club is again having the warm coat drive, and we're trying to get 400 coats, which will cost roughly $7,000. And to date, we've had either donated or pledged $1,300, and we've had 115 coats ordered for the schools, which are both public and private, and the CAPS organization here in town. So appreciate the donations coming in so far. And we're hoping to have the orders in early October so that we can have the coats back in time for the winter months that will be soon upon us. So thank you very much.
And thank you to John and to Rhonda Miller for heading up that effort today. And I want to add my thanks to all of you who have donated. You should probably find those forms on your tables. Feel free to take them with you or fill them out and leave them with Kim today. We are ready for our second check presentation, and so I'm going to ask Dory Tannen from Riverside Cemetery to come up.
Good afternoon. I would like to say thank you very much for the donation. We're really hurting. In case you haven't heard, our tree removal, I couldn't even begin to tell you how many trees, hundreds and hundreds. We counted trees along the fence line just recently for insurance purposes because they will pay to remove trees from fences, and counted about 98, and that doesn't even count in the middle of our 100 acres. So we have a pile of rubble and tree trunks down below our shop that is 2 stories high and a block long, and it's just been pretty incredible and pretty devastating for all of us there. So our tree removal bill right now stands at $700,000. We're a nonprofit. We don't have those monies. It was reduced from 830 through a donation from Top Notch Tree Service. So they have reduced the bill for us, but he's got his expenses to pay for as well. We have applied for FEMA funds, and we'll see what comes from that. We are getting a lot of donations mailed to us, and on a GoFundMe site, gotten probably a little over 40,000 so far in donations that way. So keep your fingers crossed, and if you know where there's a spare million or so, let us know.
Thank you, Dory. It's nice to have you here as well. Todd Steinkamp will share the news with us and introduce our program.
Afternoon, everybody. As of 8:31 this morning, it's now fall, so happy fall. A little bit of, I know we didn't do happy news, but is Erin McGregor here today or on? I think she's pretty busy. Yeah, so that's the whole point of this. Congratulations to Erin and the McGregors. They are moving back into their Main Street location as of today. So I know it's been daunting since the tornado for Erin and everyone at McGregor. So congratulations to them as they move back into their if you're still having some potential legal issues post to Rachel, you still have the chance to get some answers free of charge from the Iowa Legal Aid. The second of 3 legal aid clinics will be held virtually tomorrow for folks in Marshall, Story, Carson, Tama, and Powashik counties via MICA. Attorneys from Alliant Energy and other organizations will be available via phone or video conferencing. To make an appointment, you can call MICA. If you can't make it tomorrow, another Iowa Legal Aid clinic will be held next Monday, the 28th. As of yesterday's numbers, the Marshalltown Area United Way is already at 46% of its goal, with the annual campaign in its early stages. So far, as of yesterday, United Way has tallied $362,439.68. This year's campaign goal, $780,000. Iowa farmers getting an early start on harvest. Farmers have harvested 4% of the state's corn crop and 7% of the soybeans. Farmers in northwest and west central Iowa are leading the way with 10% of soybeans harvested. This week's USDA crop report finds corn is rated 42% good to excellent. Soybean crop is rated 48% good to excellent. With just 6 weeks till Election Day, the newest Des Moines Register and Mediacom Iowa poll was released this morning. It shows President Donald Trump and Joe Biden have each received 47% among likely Iowa voters. Now, another Des Moines Register Mediacom Iowa poll published on Saturday shows Teresa Greenfield leading Senator Joni Ernst by 3 percentage points. Des Moines police officers and Iowa State troopers wrote nearly 100 citations last week on I-235 in just 3 hours. Des Moines police say 60 tickets were for speeding. The highest speed clocked was 95 in the 60-mile-per-hour zone. Police also made 2 arrests, including 1 for drug-impaired driving. The Iowa State Patrol has reported a rising trend of arrests for speeding throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. If you want to chow down on Iowa's best burger in 2020, head to B-Town in the Twisted Tail. It has received the honor of by the Iowa Beef Council. Hannah Johnson manages the restaurant and says their breakfast burger is a popular choice these days. B-Town is located 9 miles from Missouri Valley and 16 miles from Council Bluffs. Finally, one day, Jimmy got home early from school, and his mom asked, "Why are you home so early?" He answered, "Because I was the only one that answered a question in my class correctly." Mom said, "Wow, my son is a genius. What was the question?" And Jimmy replied, "The question was, who threw the trash can at the principal?" Thanks, Jimmy. Now on to our guest. About 1 year ago, Carson King was holding up a sign asking for beer money in front of ESPN's College Game Day cameras before the annual Cyhawk football game. The sign read, "Busch Light supply needs replenished," and requested $25 via Venmo. So what started as a couple $100 grew to over $1 million with a lot happening in between those 2 amounts of money. Here to talk about the timeline and what Carson is doing now, including the Carson King Foundation, which, as was stated earlier, included a $10,000 donation to the Community Foundation of Marshall County a few weeks ago. Please give a warm Marshalltown Rotary welcome to Carson King.
Oh, it's almost like you do radio or something. That's great. Thank you guys for having me out here, and thanks to everyone for Zoom for tuning in. My name is Carson King, and I'm an accidental fundraiser. So it started last year at the Iowa State game. I went to the game with my friends. The night before, I decided, it might be kind of funny to make a sign asking for beer money. So I ran to Walmart, got a poster board for $1.19, and I had a Sharpie, and in my terrible 3rd grade handwriting, I wrote out "Busch Light supply needs replenished" with my Venmo account on there. Went to the game. We got there at like 4 a.m. and it was too packed. There was no way we were going to be by the main stage at all. It was, you know, kind of a lost cause. But we looked in the front and we kind of saw this little circle stage. We thought, oh, we might get to see David or Maria in person do an interview. That might be kind of cool. So me and my buddies stood there, and then kind of pretty soon everyone just filled in, and you know, it was shoulder to shoulder. And then all of a sudden the camera crew came over. We're like, oh, this will be cool. And then here comes the entire game day crew, and they stood right in front of us, and Kirk Herbstreit was right here. And so I held up my stupid little sign, and it got on national television for, I don't know, like 10 seconds maybe. And pretty soon, once they left, my friend Tyler was like, Carson, who keeps blowing your phone up? I was like, I don't know. And I looked down, and it wasn't text messages. It was my Venmo notifications. And within 15 minutes to a half hour after holding up my sign, I had over $400 in donations to my Venmo account. And I thought, wow, this is going to be a great night out on Milch. So everyone around me kind of knew what was going on. They were getting totals updated and everything. And then they came back, and we were on the TV again, and it just kept going and going. And then once we hit $600, I thought, you know, this is a little bit too much for a good time for me and my friends. Like, you know, I want to see tomorrow. And so I decided, you know, this is an amount that could, you know, possibly buy a gas card or a hotel room for a night for someone. So let's donate it to charity. And and I want to send it to charity. So my family and I kind of talked about it. We decided we wanted to send it to the University of Iowa Stead Family Children's Hospital. We chose the UI Stead Family Hospital because it impacts not only Iowa City, but people all over the state, Midwest, the country, and, you know, even internationally. He's incredible at what he does. They have a really high percentage of babies. Obviously, the Iowa Wave, if you're familiar with that, at the end of the first quarter, everyone in the stadium during Hawkeye turns to the Stead Family Hospital, and they wave. And it is the most touching thing in the world. Because for that moment, those kids aren't worried about the battles they're going through. The families aren't worried about the battles they're going through. They're getting really cool. Just, it's all about you. You know, you're really cool. We're all here for you, supporting you moment. After the game, you know, I think by the time we made the announcement on where we were sending the money, we had $1,600. So that was within a couple hours, $1,600 sent to a Venmo account. By the end of the game, which I don't want to talk about the game that day, went back home, and that Sunday morning, I got my first phone call from, they wanted me to do an interview on Monday morning. So I did my first radio interview at like 5 a.m. Monday morning, and then I don't know who all was listening at 5 a.m., but right after that, I had phone calls from all over the country asking for radio interviews about the fundraiser. I had calls from San Diego, Anchorage, Alaska, Chicago, Orlando. I even had, the story got really big in Australia, which was very strange. And then the Philippines, Brazil, all over the place. I got a call later that day. So this happened all on Saturday. Then on Thursday afternoon, I got a call from a producer with Good Morning America. He said, hey, would you like to come to New York and be on Good Morning America? And I said, well, that sounds really fun. They're like, okay, your flight leaves in 4 hours. So at the time I was working in Prairie Meadows, and I called my supervisor and I was like, hey, I don't think I'm gonna be in tomorrow. So they told me I could bring 2 people, so I brought my parents with me because they'd never been to New York, so I thought that'd be kind of a cool experience for them. We went to New York, and I got to do my first TV live interview on Good Morning America with Michael Strahan, which was absolutely horrifying. I was standing backstage, and there's actually like 100 people that sit in that studio, and I was just shaking. And Michael Strahan walks by and he stops and he looks at me and goes, Carson King. I just giggled. I didn't know what else to do. And he's like, don't worry about it. He's like, it's just you and me talking. Everything's going to be fine. And we talked and everything. It was really cool. And then afterwards, Michael Strahan just sat there and he talked with me. And he's like, you know, what are you doing? You know, this is really cool. One of the producers came. He's like, Michael, you got to go. We got to wrap this up. He said, no, it's fine. Give me a second. He picked off a national television producer to talk to me. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. While we were in New York, I got to go on all kinds of shows, Good Morning America, Fox and Friends, NBC and ABC News, ESPN, just all over the place. we got back and we had hit just over $1 million. Then at $1.14 million, I was at work and I got a text from one of the reporters with one of the local newspapers, the Register. It's like, hey, was going through your Twitter feed, and back in 2011, I found a tweet from you. It was kind of offensive. It was obviously a bad attempt at a joke. It's like, what do you think about it? I was like, oh, that was stupid. I'm obviously a dumb kid. Didn't think much of it. And then I got a call from Bush, Anheuser-Busch. They had pledged to match donations to the hospital as well as Venmo. Bush called me and they said, we're going to drop all ties with you. This tweet was offensive, doesn't stand with our brand values, business decisions, understand, move forward. So I decided the best way to go about this was to take ownership. I was a stupid kid. I threw myself at the mercy of everyone, did a press release about what happened, and wanted people to focus on, this is a fundraiser. I was stupid when I was younger and made a bad attempt at a joke. Didn't work, learned from it, move on. People kind of saw the mistake that happened, and they kind of were okay. They understood that when you're younger, you do make mistakes, and you grow and learn, and that's part of being an adult. One of the things I get to do now is go around to schools and businesses, and I get to speak about my experiences. And my presentation for you guys is a little different than it is for, obviously, a high school. So when I talk to the schools, I always talk to them about taking ownership for your own actions. It may be hard, but it's the right thing to do. Holding yourself accountable for your own actions is the most important thing you can do in your life. Because if you leave a good trail and hold yourself accountable, it's only going to push you in the right directions going forward. And I like to give the analogy that when you're growing up and you watch your younger brothers or sisters learn how to walk, right? When they're trying to walk and they fall, their parents cheer and everyone's so excited because they tried. When you get to a certain age, people stop applauding you for trying. And if you fail, you're failing, and that's a bad thing. And they don't applaud you for trying. And I think that's something that needs to change. And I tell that to the high school and middle school students I talk to. By the end of the fundraiser, we had raised over $3 million to go to the Stead Family Children's Hospital. I believe it was $3,004,000 something. I don't know. I have a big check in my house. I don't really look at it all that much. But $3 million to go to the Stead Family Children's Hospital. All of that could have easily been derailed by me making a senseless, stupid joke when I was a kid, because obviously I didn't know how powerful social media was or how powerful it could be. Because back at the time, I had 27 followers on Twitter, and it was me and my high school friends. And we just talked to each other, just giant group chat. Now it's turned into something that's a very intricate part of everyone's lives. And it's very important for not only businesses, but schools and communication with family. And I talked to the high schools about how when you're in school and you're applying for colleges will look at your social media history. They'll look at your digital footprint. Businesses will look at your digital footprint, and everything you do can be scrutinized through your own digital footprint and how dangerous social media can be. It has such a power on these kids nowadays that they will do anything for some likes, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. And one thing that always gets them to just drop their jaws when I say it is Snapchat does not go away. It's recorded, and people can find your Snapchats, and they can take advantage of that. And obviously that's very dangerous, especially if they think it's all anonymous and it just disappears. So after the fundraiser, it kind of sparked something in me where I thought, well, I might have a chance to do something kind of good with what I've learned. I decided to start a foundation, to start a charity. So I decided to get back with some tax people and some attorneys and drop some paperwork to get a registered 501c3 nonprofit going. So back on Super Bowl Sunday, these better themselves, because I knew that with a lot of charities, unless you're actually providing a service, you're not allowed to donate to individuals. You have to donate to recognized charity groups, nonprofits, or organizations that do provide services. So one of the things that my foundation does is obviously we see a need, we fill a need. During the pandemic, we saw a need for mental health services across the state because people didn't have their physical outlets. They didn't have all the outlets they normally do to help with their mental health. So we did a fundraiser with Iowa Love shirts with my friend William based out of Waterloo. We designed a Carson King Foundation limited edition Iowa Love shirt, sold that throughout the state over the course of 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and we raised over $40,000 to help mental health services. That was our first official fundraiser. And I thought that was crazy. I didn't think we'd get over $20,000 in our entire first year. So we distributed that to 4 different organizations throughout the state. the Waubonsee Mental Health Resource Center in Clarinda, Iowa, which is actually where I was born. NAMI of Greater Iowa, which is based out of Des Moines. Please Pass the Love, which is based out of Des Moines, and the Grundy Blackhawk County Mental Health Resource Center based out in Blackhawk, Grundy County. They all provide incredible services. They went mobile, they had counseling sessions through Zoom, they have resource vehicles that go out and they will address people in public and help them out in any ways they need. And I thought that's incredibly important because there's a stigma around mental health that's very negative. And it's either so normalized that people just don't care about mental health issues, or they just think you're weird because you have depression or anxiety, and it's not true. Our next fundraiser was obviously with the derecho that came through. We saw devastation all across the state, whether it be in Des Moines, Marshalltown, Cedar Rapids, everywhere. We started another t-shirt fundraiser because obviously we can't really do in-person fundraisers at the time. We sold Iowa Strong shirts that were still going on, and this is actually going to be the last week for the Iowa Strong shirts. And then within the first 72 hours, we had raised over $60,000 for different storm relief efforts. We did send one to obviously Julie and her organization, which they do great work. We sent $30,000 to the United Ways of Washington and Jasper County, Washington and Johnson County, Central Iowa. We sent $10,000 to United Way of Jasper County because obviously Newton got hit pretty hard as well. And we also have a leftover $10,000 that we're going to end up divvying up and sending about $1,000 to individual food banks that are really needing the support. It just kind of taught me a few different lessons. Obviously, one about digital footprint and how important that is. It taught me that people see a need and they're willing to help, no matter what it is, especially whether that's little kids fighting for their lives with cancer in a hospital, whether that's their own community members suffering from storm damage, whether that's people not having the resources they need to have their best lives lived. Us as Iowans, we have this thing called Iowanness. It's a very real thing. People think it's just some overplayed term that we use to, make everything seem hunky-dory. It's not. When you're driving down the street, especially in smaller towns, and you're driving past someone and you can give that one finger wave, and it's not the middle one, it's the pointer one, You can give that. It's very nice, and it's just a sense of community that people have. Whether you're in Des Moines or Sioux City or Cedar Rapids, or you're in Marshalltown, you're in Newton, you're in Prairie City. The same community feel is always there, and the community values are always there to support each other. It's also taught me that no matter what you do in your life, you can continue to go on, and whatever obstacles are thrown at you, you can hurdle them and continue to move forward. Obviously, with the tweet thing with quoting Tosh.0, which was a stupid joke when I was a kid, obviously that could have completely derailed everything that I was working for. It doesn't stand for who you are when you're younger, because you make mistakes, you learn, and you go forward. And we need to accept that kids can make mistakes and move forward. And it's also taught me that if you see a need, the best way to live your life is to help others. There's a little quote that I really like, and it's, if you see someone in need, help. You might not be changing the world, but you're changing that person's world, and that's just as good. That's Carson King original quote. And I always like to kind of wrap up my little speeches with a Q&A session. So if any of you guys have any questions, raise your hand. If Zoom has any questions, I guess raise your hand, put it in chat or something, and I can answer.
So I thank God for you, the person that helped sign up with all the things that you've done. There's a lot of people that were taking the original beer when you spent. Thank you.
Yeah. So I would just like to say, for the benefit of our Zoom folks who can't hear the questions out here, if you don't mind coming up to the microphone, I know that they would appreciate it, or if you would restate. Okay.
I can restate any questions. She asked, how do you get the cool t-shirt? So you can go to iowalove.com/derecho, and the link is also on all of the Carson King Foundation websites. They have a couple different designs. They have the Iowa Strong shirt. They have 2020 Really Blue, which is kind of a funny one as well. And then that will be available until the end of the week. And then also, if you don't make it into getting one of the t-shirts, I did have a collaboration with my friend Glenn Cole with Midwest Ale Works, and we are doing a Midwest Legend beer. That beer is going to be sold to any breweries that would wish to participate, as long as they pledge at least $1 from every pint sold to the Carson King Foundation. We're going to send all the funds that we raise from that to Storm Relief as well to continue the effort. Yes, sir. He asked if Busch Light came through with their donation. They did. On March 6th, they cut the check. It was a little quiet. Obviously, I think they had a lot of backlash and they just were ready to be over with it, but they did send well over almost close to $1 million. So that was really sweet. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
So if I made a t-shirt, I'm sure that I wouldn't bring in that much money in 72 hours. So do you work with a marketing agent, or how do you, you listed a lot of sites. So is there anything else that you advice you could give us for raising money with t-shirts?
So for any advice for raising money with t-shirts, honestly, so something that kind of surprises people about the Carson King Foundation is it's me and my board members. And then basically everything's all volunteer and it's kind of just me. My board obviously helps out a lot with ideas, but it's nothing special. You see a good need, you fill it. People are willing to jump on good causes. If you get it out to the right outlets, one of the great things is radio is incredibly important. They're always looking for new material, ways to fill time. And a lot of people listen to radio, whether they're just driving or it pops up on their Facebook pages, they share the links, the clips. A lot of people listen to radio, and that's really important to get those out, as well as just media releases with the news. A lot of times, if it's a slow day, they'll pick up anything for a press release. And it's, it's a good way to get the word out there. And if it's boots on the grounds, grassroots fundraisers, I think have the most power, whether it's just a couple people asking for donations from their neighbors, whether it's a neighborhood getting together to throw a barbecue, all the funds they raise, just little things. It's the little people that add up to the big deals. So just involved with fundraising, just do what you can and hope for the best. Yes, ma'am. She asked, what are my plans for the future with the foundation and everything else going on? So I would really like to see the Carson King Foundation within the next 5 to 10 years be big enough where it can support other states other than just Iowa. I'd like to see it grow to kind of a Midwest brand, and obviously that'd be a way down the road, but if it could be something that could help out, every state in the United States, that'd be really cool. I would like to see it get to a point where it's looked at as a symbol of hope for those in need, because they know that if there's a tragedy that happens, there's someone there that's looking out for them to help raise funds and help, just gain support and notoriety and awareness for whatever's going on. I'd like the Carson King Foundation to get to a point where we can provide the service and not just donate to organizations that do. I would really like to get involved with some type of, like medical bill payback fund or something like that. Because obviously medical bills are incredibly expensive. A lot of people, when tragedy strikes, especially at the University of Iowa hospitals, there's a lot of people that aren't from the area that have to go up there and stay with their kids. The Ronald McDonald House does a really good job of making sure those people are taken care of. They're one of my favorite charities personally. They give them a free place to stay. Well, that doesn't cover all the funds. I'd like the Carson King Foundation to get to a point where possibly we could cover some of the funds or take some stress off of them, at least give them a couple months of leeway before those medical bills need to start getting paid back on. And eventually I would like the foundation to be to a point where it's not just completely volunteer. I'd like to hire people, hire college students that are coming out working in philanthropy and nonprofit management, business, marketing, stuff like that, give them jobs to give back to their communities and kind of branch out. I'd like, if we could get different organizations, different branches throughout the state where people could work out of full time and help their communities, see a need, fill a need. I think that'd be really cool, but that's way down the road and I don't know how those logistics work. So for right now, just being volunteer is cool. Yes, ma'am.
What did you want to do when you were young?
So she asked, what did I want to do when I was young? So when I was really young, obviously I wanted to be an Army man. I thought that was really cool. An Army man or a dinosaur. I thought that would have been a really cool job to have. As I got older, I was really interested in being a chiropractor, actually. I thought that was really cool. I had a pretty gross sports injury with my back when I was in high school, and it was really painful. And I thought what chiropractors did to make things better was really neat. And then after I kind of realized I wasn't quite smart enough for being a chiropractor once I got into school, I kind of switched my focus to psychology. I wanted to get involved with social work or law enforcement of some type, and being involved with people that were at risk with mental health issues of different types. So I switched my major to psychology. I got 2 years in psychology, then I saw how much student loans were and that my parents were co-signed, and I decided to go to school for a little bit until I could pay back those loans. So I think the original plan was just getting involved with social work. I worked as a youth counselor for Woodward Academy, which is a placement center for juvenile delinquents. It's kind of a structure-based rehabilitation center. Basically, a lot of the times the kids just need to kind of show them the right way. Year-old working with 16-year-olds, I thought, you know, this is kind of weird that I'm looked at as an authority figure, but it's really cool because they can see how, you know, like these kids, they didn't know how to shave. They didn't, you know, they didn't know how to put pizzas in the oven. It was the weirdest thing to me, but they didn't have that home life is what I saw a lot. So I wanted to get involved with the social work aspect and give them that. So that was the original goal. And I think the fundraising and helping out different communities and organizations that do provide services, I think that's still kind of on the same path, but, you know, just a little bit different. Yes, sir.
Carson, have you been to Kinnick Stadium and experienced the wave before last year?
He asked if I'd been to Kinnick Stadium and experienced the wave before last year. So 2 years ago, I actually did. The first time I experienced the wave was for the Nebraska-Iowa game. That was 2 years ago that Iowa won. It was really touching. I didn't understand the power at the time. You know, I thought, oh, this is just kind of cool. And then last year when I actually got to go and tour the hospital and then meet some of the families and the staff and the kids that were at the hospital, and, you know, just talking to them about it and how excited they were for the wave every single Saturday. And how these kids, as crazy as it sounds, they hated to be discharged on weekends. They hated it because they wanted to be there on Saturday for the wave. It's just a really touching moment, and it's really cool to see how everyone can just turn their focus on them and, you know, give them kind of a boost they're needing at their, you know, lowest times when they're fighting for their lives.
Thank you very much for an inspiring presentation. We're all glad that we feel like we got to know you a little better, Carson, and we wish you well in the future. And certainly on behalf of our community, thank you for the donation to our community foundation. We know it will be put to good use. So thanks again. Please, our next meeting next week, the speaker will be Chris Knapp. And Chris is a former district governor of District 6000. He'll be talking to us about the Rotary Foundation. So please rise and join me in reciting the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? We are now adjourned.